Hey, it's Mel from Rap Rankings. To hear the full episode this clip comes from and all of the other episodes, check the link in the description, stop by raprankings.com, or search Rap Rankings on your favorite podcast platform. And please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting to help us grow the channel and continue our journey as hip-hop's first and premier extreme podcast. Track 3, Lotta Years. 8+, man. Okay.
Flat 8. Ding me, baby.
This shit has stayed in my rotation since 2016.
It's only getting
left.
better. It's only getting better. When this dropped, I was 29.
Wow. Yeah, and I mean, when it dropped, I was 23, you know. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that actually ties into... Actually, first, let me hit this because you said the magic number. We got to hit it every time. 29.
There's Brandy, man.
Yeah. Here's a song, actually, that man Drake needs to listen to just face, facts on
the
fact
music.
Yeah, he's older.
When I was 29, I was just starting to feel like this. At 36 now, this song is, I'm all the way here with the song now.
And I'm 30 now, and let me tell you something. So before, in 2016, it was always great storytelling and like humanity expressed. Now it's painful to me in addition to that, but in such a precise, enjoyable way. It's not bad pain.
The bad website didn't understand the sarcasm on.
Oh, God. How could they miss that?
So... yeah, I wrote that this is a I'm too old for this shit classic. It is, and it's an it used to be better classic.
It used to be better, or Old Man Yells at Cloud, sort of Get Off My Lawn, but also just like shock and awe at the future. It's like... it's
too funny to be Get Off My Lawn.
Right.
And it's too satirical to be Get Off My Lawn. I'd say the production is definitely something more akin to the stuff I'd come to expect from him to rap over at this point. Mm-hmm. You've got a little bit of guitar in here. You got this cascading piano. You got a scratched acapella. Kind of got like a vocal sample that's buried in there. It's like the lightest of the elements, but it's there. The song is, to me, I'm sorry, what was that?
No, I was just going to say musically, third one in a row where I feel like it matches the content perfectly because like that piano, that sort of like...
it definitely matches the content.
I was going up and down.
The song is, to me, like more of a showcase for Aesop to make like observational humor.
Yes.
With the production fitting the attitude that he takes on this track. And like the interactions that he's describing really fit the beat well.
Yeah, like the jazzy sort of cascading pianos and the
that's the vocal sample I was referring to. That
it's whimsical and it matches that sort of. It's like Curb Your Enthusiasm, the song, to me a bit. It's like intrigue, but also fear, but like a black comedy sort of thing, and like it's like this panic and like sweatiness and like dizziness and just trepidation. Like it's all of that musically.
On this album, I feel like it's masterfully sequenced, and a lot of songs do like hand holding. So the last two tracks, I feel like just musically have a lot in common. Tracks 1 and 2. This track and the next track do some hand holding as well. These tracks feel like in the storyline, I guess, progression of this album, these are the moments that kind of make him feel like he needs to leave where he's at.
Right.
This is like, for me, only getting better as I get older.
Yes.
And I'm identifying more with the sentiments he's expressing in the record.
Talk about it.
And, like when he's talking about, verse 1, the kid that worked down at the local Baskin
Robbins got a tattoo
of a lipstick print attached above his collar. I watched him relocate in pistachio to a waffle, thinking I had lost the plot, if not the passion for the novel.
Oh my God. Masterful. Magnificent.
He asked me what I wanted. I ordered something daft. He said he liked the tattoo Alex drew me of the bats. Thanks. I like it too, but modestly confess, in present company, my coloring is not the main event.
Oh, and then this part, look at that neck. That pops me every time. Perfect delivery, you know? Because it's just that, like, if you're ever out and about and you're questioning, it's just like you're transfixed by something, and it's just, look at that neck, you know?
Just pauses, look at that neck. The message is immediate. This guy F's chicks,
you know?
I spent a lot of years making friends with cool artists, so when they drew me tattoos, I could truly feel important. Now some 22-year-old inside a cube of brick and mortar got me questioning my morals and their corny pecking order.
Yeah.
And he says, I should give a shit less. Cherry, no.
Whip,
yes.
Perfect verse alert, by the way. Perfect verse. Actually, both of them. Both verses are perfect.
Perfect verse.
They're perfect.
Now, it's funny because I was telling you, the bad website, they thought that, like, in verse 2, when he says, my mind is fucking blown, the future is amazing, they thought he was being, like, completely sincere. Now, the verse is, you know, he's talking about the girl that worked down at the local juice place got a head full of dreadlocks down to her waist.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he doesn't say that she's a white girl, but based on how the story unfolds, it leads me to believe that she is.
Okay, I feel you. Because I remember back in 2016, I assumed. Yeah.
And there's a lot of, you know, kind of Berkeley hippie chicks.
Right.
Dreadlocks, you know. So he says, I watched her add the spinach to the ginger to the grapes. My hair was underwhelming. My juice was fucking great. Some lady orders maca, compliments the locks. She asked her how many years it took the girl to grow the crop.
And the girl says,
yeah. It took a lot of years, and then eventually I cut him, kept him, reattach him anytime I want him.
My mind's fucking blown. The future is amazing. I feel so fucking old. And I felt him on that because I would have I didn't even know that was something you could do with hair. Like, oh, that's actually kind of genius.
I know some people who, when they cut their dreads, they kept their dreads. But they
I kept my hair, but not with the idea to reattach them. Like, when I want to have dreads again, you know?
It's just something that, you know, has meaning.
Right. Exactly.
But, you know, how he goes from that into the future is amazing. I feel so fucking old. I bet you clone your pets and ride a hoverboard to work.
I used a folding map
to find the juice place in the first. I think he says, I used a phone map.
A phone map? Okay. I mean, I guess folding would fit, like, the concept of the record.
I used a phone map, meaning, like, I'm not even immune to some of the trappings of the future as well.
Right.
Like, the only reason I'm here is because I mapped it on my phone.
Right. Well, you know, I'll say the next few lines really get me in an era where I feel like, I mean, things are nonstop. The pace at which we're living, and it's like it doesn't really look. I'm not a church goer, but I feel like if you were, the pace we're living doesn't even leave room to find that sense of fulfillment anymore. So, like, hearing a line like "These kids are running wild," I'm still recovering from church. I remember as a youth going to church, and when you leave church, you have that feeling of damn, like, well, we just discussed the reason why we're all here. Like that weight, that post-church weight. Like, you know, like that line connected with me. But then you should have seen me in the 90s. I could ollie up a curb. You should have seen me in the 80s. I was bumping New Edition, dragging Acne in the Hades. That idea, it's like, well, listen, you know, back in my day, I could do some shit too. You know, that's where the humor comes in. But also like that need to not be washed. It's like, well, look, hello, my fellow kids. Like, you know, like, I'm not that lame, you know?
Right. Like, there was a time where I was cool and people, you know, adults were mad at me.
Exactly.
And I was the counterculture. And now I'm fucking washed.
You know?
He says on Twitter when he talked about what this song was, very simply put, this is about observing today's youth and feeling old.
There it is. All right. You know? And And what's interesting though, that hit me years ago actually when I listened to this song. In the first verse, when he sort of snaps back to the task at hand after realizing he should give a shit less and he's been lost, having this crisis of identity and place in the world in his old age. What's funny is you realize while he's having this crisis and feeling like sort of lost and outdated and aged out, he got complimented by this kid. The kid told him, "Oh, I like your ink." So he's not as washed or as uncool as he thinks, but it's kind of comedic.
At the same time, he feels like, he said, in the present company, my coloring is not the main event.
He feels inferior, But perhaps he shouldn't, because it's like, it's kind of what you do to yourself. It's like, you're thinking, oh, this kid is like advanced and I'm done out here. I'm cooked. But, the kid is like, oh, cool tattoo, and it's like, it's just, that's what we do though, as human beings.
Right. And you see a lipstick print tattoo on his neck and it's like, all right, this guy is like a bro or like, what women today would call like a fuck boy.
Right.
It's like, do I even want the compliment
want to be like that? But you also at the same time, it's like, well, damn, he's young. He's out here, he's young and he's jiggy. And at the end of the day, like,
he's like in the mix right now. He's tapped in and like, I'm here just for some fucking ice cream. Like I'm just, like I'm a piece of shit. Like
it's a very funny song.
My whole life, I spent all this time trying to collect all these different tattoos from famous artists so that I could feel important, and now I'm sitting over here like at the fucking ice cream parlor and this kid who can't even fucking tie his shoes has got me like having an identity crisis, basically.
Right. But it's also like you said, like, these tattoos. So when they drew me tattoos, I could truly feel important. But it's like, you're so busy thinking about this guy. He's like forgetting what his own tattoos mean to him and why he shouldn't even be comparing in the first place. He eventually realizes I should give a shit less. And it's just back to the ice cream. I don't want a cherry, but I will take whipped cream. This is like I said, it's fucking masterful shit. Like this is really great shit.
And this is how you do everyman
rap,
slice of life rap in a really compelling and humorous and interesting way. So,
right. And like I said, even when I was 23, I thought this shit was great. But now at 30, when I've really felt some of these feelings, I'm like, oh my God.
And we're Lotta Years with the music now too. Like we're in the realm of, Aesop Rock music that feels familiar to me. And I don't think we really deviate from that at all, with the exception of like one or two tracks later on.
Word. So
we're locking in more on the production as well. This is the producer rapper season. So I feel like we've got two thermometers out at the same time. We always do, but especially this season.
For sure. We got to take that into consideration because the same guy's doing the music and the raps, but.
And I'll say this, like, I don't know how many of the beats on this album I feel like, oh, these are like some of the best beats in history. But these are some of the best beats we're going to do this season in terms of matching the content of the records. Mm-hmm. The music complements the records on here very well. These aren't my favorite beats of the season by a long shot. But I do feel like a lot of these beats really do a great service for the lyricism and vice versa. So.
But you know what, though? I think that happens more often than not with producer rappers because they can tailor the beat specifically to what they plan to do over it, So it kind of should end up this way when you're a producer rapper. It's like, you have full control over what the music is going to sound like. So, hopefully, ideally, it would feel tailor-made for the content. And this album is a great example of that, like.
I think this whole season's been a great example so far. I mean,
yeah,
everybody has kind of, laid out their individual, thesis statement as an artist, but also had like a very consistent sound to match those feelings. So,
yeah,
I'm loving this one so far. Just the lineup, the stuff we've been listening to, I feel is very refreshing to, after Biggest Disappointments, our last theme season, and, until we got up to the Count Basie last season, things were kind of bleak. We were in that season of The Damned.
Don't remind me.
It's nice to, get on a little streak of enjoyment again.
It's nice to be able to shaboing boing again, But yeah, man, look, my final note on this record, and it's funny that this happened this week as we were getting ready to do this thing. My dad came home from school, he teaches, and like he was telling me he went out of town last weekend to fly to see my stepmom, and they went to the LL Cool J tour. It was like the Force tour or whatever, where the Roots is a backing band or whatever, up in Northern California. And of course he came back and, the first day of the week he was telling his students about, because he likes to tell them about his life.
Yeah, I was telling you on the phone, Mel, we were burying Questlove's remix of In My Mind.
As my dad was at the concert. Which was
in
hilarious.
The same room as Questlove.
Crazy.
Monitoring the situation and making sure that everything was cool. And that, Questlove didn't try to send some drumsticks on a drone to attack us or something.
Yeah, Well, so this is what happened. My dad came, and he likes to share his life with the kids, so they feel closer to him and understand, like, hey, he's not so old and detached, and like, he opens up to him. And anyway, he said he came back, he told him this story, like, this is what I did this weekend. I went and saw LL Cool J. And he expected the kids to kind of be like, oh, wow, cool. He said they were fucking crickets. And then he said, until some brave kid dared to ask, who is LL Cool J? And I was like, oh, man. And my dad was like, yeah, wow, I'm old. Now, keep in mind, my dad is, 48? So he's not even like old.
He's not old.
He's not even that old. But like, yeah, he's, and like, even me, I'm like, oh, I didn't know who LL Cool J is. But then I'm like, oh, I guess that makes sense, But shout out to that kid that asked, though. Stay curious. Because here's the thing. It'll keep you from feeling like Aesop did in this song. Because the longer you stay curious, the less chance you have of being out of touch. It'll also keep you well-rounded about not only the present, but the past. So I'm sure my dad explained who LL Cool J was. Now this kid knows. And you know what's like interesting? I went to my cousin's wedding like a couple years ago. And I was 28 at the time. And Lauryn Hill, like the DJ played like doo-wop, that thing at like the reception. And I was rapping every word. And like my younger cousin were looking at me like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, y'all don't know Lauryn Hill? And then it hit me. It's like, well, damn. I mean, they were born in like 99, 2000.
Right. And how would they even know Lauryn Hill? She never had a proper follow-up album. So
right.
It's not like she remained, on the charts. And then people were like, oh, Lauryn Hill just dropped an album. Have you ever heard Miseducation? There's been nothing has come up where it's been
other than like the meme of her like not showing up to concerts or being late. Like it's an iconic album, but like even still, the kids don't go and listen to the past. I'm not refuting
that at all.
That much.
All I'm saying is, in that specific instance, you almost can't even blame them.
You can't, not truly, because I feel like previous generations is like, oh, you hear about, they go back and listen to the Beatles or they go back and listen to such and such. Now I feel like they don't bother. I could be wrong. I mean, not every kid, obviously, or every young adult, but they're in the present. They're listening to the shit that's on the playlist. They're not going back and, doing their due diligence with music history. But, it even ties into these days. You'll see the debate like kids not knowing just how big Michael Jackson truly was. I mean, how would they, though? They weren't around for that mania, that phenomenon. They have Taylor Swift. They have Beyonce,
At best, you can say, like I wasn't around for Beatlemania, but I watched enough, documentaries about music on, like, TV.
Right. And we also grew up in I love the 70s, I love the 80s, and, so we know.
So I know about all the stuff that, even though it's not of my generation, I do think that, like, before high-speed internet and social media, we came from a little bit more of a curious generation. It's like we have less things to do. It's like, fuck it, let's just watch I Love the Blank,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I love the whatever on VH1.
Top
or just
50 best rock and roll moments. Like, I don't give a fuck, but I'll watch this.
It's on, I'll watch it, and you might learn something.
It's easy to watch, too. It's a top 50, so they're just going to breeze through a bunch of stuff.
Right, like that, the History Channel. Like, I remember, like, I said something one day to, like, my younger cousin, or maybe it was my brother. Like, I mentioned Anne Frank, and they were like, who is that? And I'm like, y'all not reading her diary in schools no more? Like, the fuck is going on? But, I mean, times change. Curriculums change. Like, you know? And so you got to remind yourself, every generation has to realize.
Right, that's why, you know, she would have been a believer. Like, you know, because if we're not teaching this stuff in schools, then, yeah, she might have been. I mean, who's to say? You don't know anything about her.
You know? Right. So it's just, this song is very humorous and it's very, you know, prescient for me now, but also it's just a great summation of just getting older and time passing and just things changing and not being like so down in the dumps about it, but being able to look at it in a comedic lens, you know? And my final note is like the chorus. This is one of my favorite, just like quote nothing choruses ever, because the nothing is everything. Just a lot of years. Like, that's all that needs to be said. I picture him like walking down the street, just like mumbling to himself, like, I'm getting old.
And then you
like,
get that piano, that
yeah,
and then that boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
a lot of years.
It's like if somebody like it caught me like when I was in Peoria in the past 7 years, and I was just walking down the street and was like, damn, what's wrong? And I would just look up and be like, a lot of years. And just keep walking. Like, that's what this is to me. Like, a lot of years. That's the best way to sum it up. A lot of years where a lot of things have happened and transpired and changed. And that's what this song's about. So, 8+. I like this shit a lot. I damn near love it. This could, when I'm in my 40s, you know, like, yeah. So, shit. You want to move on?
Yep.
All right. Hey, it's Mel from Rap Rankings. To hear the full episode this clip comes from and all of the other episodes, check the link in the description, stop by raprankings.com, or search Rap Rankings on your favorite podcast platform. And please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting to help us grow the channel and continue our journey as hip-hop's first and premier extreme podcast.